In this video, I am going to compare biochar against Bokashi, against IMO, against Compost Tea, and see which one wins as a soil amendment. But before we get started, I have a confession to make. This was not an original idea. I know, you're probably gasping uncontrollably and about to click off. But before you do, let me explain. A couple days ago, someone in my natural gardening community sent me a message, shout out to Ron, giving me a heads up that I was starring in an AI video. And of course, he included a link to this video. So after watching it through, I thought, well, they had a really interesting idea for a video and then made it in just about the least interesting, least helpful, and most annoying way possible. I bet I could do it at least 1% better. Probably won't get the same views, but at least I've actually tried all of the things that they're talking about in the video and have a real opinion, a real experience with each of these inputs. What a concept. You might be able to tell I'm a little miffed. And what miffed me even more was that when I visited the channel that posted the video, I found that I was subscribed to this channel. It surprised me that this particular channel was making these kinds of videos. And I will reveal the channel and I'll save my personal commentary and thoughts on the matter until the end of this video. For now, let's answer the question that perhaps you clicked on this video to find the answer to. To start, let's define each of these amendments. Biochar is a pure carbon material with a large amount of surface area contained inside of its highly porous structure. It's used to house nutrients and microorganisms, and its main claim to fame is that it's been found extensively by archaeologists and anthropologists throughout the Amazon rainforest. Many researchers believe that it's actually the central piece of the puzzle regarding the absurdly abundant fertility found in the rainforest and throughout other ancient agricultural sites. Bokashi is a process of pre-fermenting food scraps and crop residue and really whatever organic matter you want using a special inoculated bran or a liquid spray so that the organic matter can be turned into soil quickly. IMO, or IMO4, is shorthand for indigenous microorganisms, which refers to a Korean natural farming input where local microbes, largely bacteria and fungi, are captured using a grain medium, grown out onto other substrates, and then integrated into garden or field soil. And that's the fourth stage. And its primary benefit is as a way to introduce really robust microbes that have adapted to fit your unique climate where you're trying to grow your plants. Lastly, Compost Tea is a liquid solution that's made by suspending a compost-filled fine mesh bag in water that is continuously aerated and provided with a food source of some kind, usually molasses or kelp meal or humic acids. And then this aerated tea is then sprayed across the garden, foliarly applied to plants and directly to the soil to impart compost microbes to the growing space. Now, in this video that originally showed me doing a few of these things, specifically IMO4 and Bokashi, their conclusion included a number of surprises. And I would actually just play a clip of the full audio from their video, but they have YouTube licensed music playing. So if we use their footage, I'm pretty sure that we will get immediately flagged, ironically, for copyright infringement. So instead, we'll play the clip muted, and I'll do my best impression of the AI voice. Here it is. Now here's the first big surprise. When we tested microbial activity after 2 weeks, Compost Teas gave the fastest spike in active biology, faster than IMO4, faster than Bokashi, faster than anything else. But after a month, that spike completely leveled off. Meanwhile, IMO4 had overtaken every other treatment and kept climbing long after the Compost Tea boost had faded. Okay, how was that? Now here's the second big surprise. According to the video, it all depends on the context, which one of these works best. So after testing these head-to-head and looking at the real-world results, here's the truth. See, I gotta ask you guys, please comment in this video and be honest, when you hear that, like when you hear an AI voice say something like, here's the truth, do you expect that it's going to tell you the truth? I would actually really appreciate hearing from people on this because for me, the answer is immediately no. Maybe I'm missing something. Anyway, all that said, that video claimed to make specific observations about findings that they had based on trials they had performed, that they obviously hadn't. I also have not performed specific trials regarding these 4 particular inputs in side-by-side experiments, although it's an interesting idea. But I'm not going to pretend like I have when I haven't. Instead, I will give you my take on these. First off, each of these inputs is serving very unique functions and play very different roles in growing a healthy garden and building healthy soil. I'd say that if you were going to compare apples to apples, you'd probably want to go the Compost Tea versus Liquid IMO route. Liquid IMO is basically the Korean natural farming version of Compost Tea. Comparing Compost Tea to Biochar doesn't really make sense because they're apples and oranges. Compost Tea and IMO are about supplying microorganisms. Biochar is about supplying a home for microorganisms. Bokashi is about using microorganisms to convert organic matter into bioavailable plant nutrients, which is why on our farm and in our garden, we find ourselves using all of these techniques because they work together. That said, I'm going to reframe this conversation a little bit and say what I think is a pretty good progression if you were going to use all of these when it comes to integrating them into your gardening practice. To start, I think that one of the simplest inputs that anyone can make and every gardener should be making at some level is homemade compost. Reason being, I believe that it's going to be better than 90% of what you'll find at the store. You also can't make compost tea without compost, which if you have a bubbler already, is probably the simplest of the amendments to make. Once you start making compost though, now you have more context for your Bokashi and your Biochar and the way that you use them. Because the main way that I use each of these amendments is as an ingredient in my compost piles. The lacking macronutrient in most cases for making hot compost, which results in finished compost a little bit faster, is nitrogen. And with Bokashi, as I've mentioned a fair amount in other videos, you get to stockpile a lot of nitrogen that you can then add as an ingredient to carbon-rich materials like dried leaves, wood chips, and other yard debris. For us, it's a lot of chicken bedding. The compost pile is also probably the easiest place to effectively incorporate your biochar. If you've got biochar and you've got it crushed up a little bit like this, you can layer it into your compost pile as you make it, whether you're making hot or cold compost pile. And then as composting happens, that biochar will soak up nutrients and microorganisms and allow them extra space to multiply. You're sort of supercharging your compost by adding it. And there's a lot more to it than that, but that's kind of the gist. So to summarize, if I was to give a progression for which inputs you might want to try making, out of these four that were selected, I'd say that Amendment 0 is compost, then Compost Tea, then Bokashi and Biochar. All of these are things that we have more in-depth videos on this channel that can take you through the whole process of making them and using them. The last and final input though is IMO 4, and this is one that certainly took me the longest to figure out. I spent years trying to get it to work with lots of trial and error and confusion. I believe that it was worth it. It is a very strong microbial inoculant. It can't build a garden from scratch all on its own without doing anything else. Doesn't supply nutrients, but it is a really cool process, definitely a long one. And so if you've explored the others and you're interested in diving even deeper, that's definitely your next step. A big goal of ours with this channel is to present these processes in ways that make it less time for you to figure it out, less time than it took me at least. All that said, with how much effort and time and frustration and challenge that actually went into figuring out how to collect, preserve, diversify, and integrate indigenous microorganisms, I think that seeing our video being used as a piece of stock footage in an AI voiceover video was pretty annoying. And what was even more annoying was that this channel is on a mission with which I am very aligned. I actually looked up the rules on YouTube and using other people's footage from their videos and found that the way that this channel was using our footage alongside several other content creators' videos is a copyright infringement. And it's clearly stated in YouTube's policy that it's not allowed. The only time that you're able to use someone else's footage is supposedly when you are significantly transforming the work, like providing a critique or a review or parodying it. But just using someone else's visuals as stock footage to make your own video is not allowed. Where it gets complicated for me is when it comes to this particular channel. And now I'll make the big reveal that everyone but Ron has been waiting for. The channel that used our footage is Regenerative Farmers of America. And I'm honestly not sure which of their videos that I saw in the past that made me subscribe, but I did some scrolling back through their catalog and found a couple of video interviews that were really interesting. There was an interview with the folks at Alexander Family Farm, who is the first certified regenerative dairy farm. I actually buy their products fairly often. Their cream is amazing. So it's a cool sort of spotlight on a farm doing some amazing work. They have an interview with Tablas Creek Vineyards, which is the first regenerative certified vineyard and winery in the world. And then when you go to the Regenerative Farmers of America website, and look a little bit deeper, you can find that they have an app called Red Hen that specifically connects local regenerative farmers to customers. I downloaded the app, I didn't really find too many farms on there that were particularly close by, but you might. And honestly, I love that sort of thing. I love the idea of connecting farmers with consumers and supporting regenerative farms and advancing education on the subject, which is what makes it so confusing that they're making videos in a pretty lazy way, to put it very charitably. I actually sent them a message on Instagram kindly requesting that they give our channel some credit for the footage that they used. They said sure, but I haven't seen them actually do that on this particular video. Not to mention, I checked a couple of their other videos that bleed into our niche and found more footage from our channel. So I'll probably just report them. I really hope that I am not coming across as whiny on this. I actually want to have this conversation in a genuine way. So I'm asking this from a genuine standpoint. Is this the future that everyone's talking about with AI? Or at least, is this part of the vision? Because really, and I don't mean to sound like an ultimatum or anything, as though my decisions have any impact on how this goes. But if we allow channels like this and the people who run them to steal footage and draw made-up conclusions about fake trials that they didn't perform using these grating AI voices just because they don't have the balls to stand behind a camera and show their actual garden, if we allow that to continue by patronizing them with our views, that's all we're going to be left with, because actual creators like myself eventually are going to get fed up with it and leave the platforms. Now, YouTube has clearly stated in their policy that this is not allowed, but there's really too much out there to be able to track it all and keep these videos from actually doing this sort of thing. YouTube's native copyright detectors mostly get triggered when audio is stolen. On top of that, you can make videos so much faster, like 100 times faster than Cassidy and I can make a video if you're using AI to do it in this way. That said, it's really hard to give them the benefit of the doubt on this because I don't know of any AI softwares that scour YouTube and clip video footage from other channels' videos and make a new video out of it, which means that this channel creator, whomever they are, knowingly screen recorded our videos and then deliberately used the footage. Am I missing something? I would like to know. I don't want to hear like any doomsday predictions, but I am curious to hear sober takes on whether or not you think that this is the future of content creation, and maybe I should just stop sinking my hours into scripts and then standing in front of a camera filming it and having Cassidy edit the footage by hand like we're in the dark ages. Let me know. By the way, I don't think that I would like a life of prompt engineering to make fake videos, so I'm not going to do it either way. But what I will do is to continue to document our real life discoveries. I'll continue to set up long-term side-by-side tests and comparisons that I think are interesting, and I have multiple running at the moment. I want to provide actual value for you all. And I genuinely appreciate your support. By the way, everyone watching, you guys are awesome. We don't take it for granted. We are doing our best to find meaningful solutions to garden problems that you might have and explore natural growing techniques and make it applicable for you and others. One way that you can support our work on this channel, other than liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing our videos, is by checking out my book on Korean natural farming for home gardeners. Or if you practice Bokashi fermentation, you can check out our new line of Bokashi brand. I make it personally by hand, just like I wrote my book using my own words, and also gave credit to various sources that I learned about this stuff from. Thanks to everyone who has already purchased our book and left us reviews. Cassidy and I genuinely appreciate you. Okay, that's enough gabbing. Thanks for watching. As always, I'll see you in the next one.